When everything is marketing and marketing is everything, taglines and trends are just the tip of the proverbial iceberg. On the M Word, we're talking marketing and mission and the pursuit of what's personal. I'm your host, Jennifer Mulchandani, and you are listening to the M Word podcast presented by Arlington Strategy. On this episode of the M Word, I talk with Roger Martin, co-founder and CEO of two national franchise brands, RockBox Fitness and Beem Light Sauna, as well as various other businesses. He is the host of the Thrive More with Roger Martin podcast, and he recently launched his book, An Insider's Guide to Business: Secrets from an Entrepreneur's Playbook. With a 30-year career in sales, marketing, and C-level leadership, Roger shares that he learned more about marketing in the first 4 months of opening his first business than he did in all his years in corporate America and in earning his MBA. We chat about ego, success, and fear, and why he's directing all proceeds from his book to support a national charity working to prevent self-harm. I am sure you will enjoy this conversation. Welcome, Roger. I'm so glad you're on the M Word today.
Yes, thank you for having me. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, I look forward to this conversation. And you are a man of many businesses. And so who are you? Introduce yourself a little bit and what you're working on right now.
Yeah, I'm a corporate refugee after 25 years in corporate America and the pharmaceutical industry, starting as a sales rep, ending as a chief operating officer, and had many roles in between there and moved my family 8 times in 14 years. I decided that it was time to go to my own and become an entrepreneur. And my background is mainly in sales and marketing. Have some operations experience as well, and of course, a lot of leadership experience, but it's really sales and marketing that I love. So I ended up in 2017 starting a national fitness franchise called RockBox Fitness. It's a boxing for fitness group exercise brick and mortar franchise. We have 60 of those locations open now. And then that was 2017, and had a right angle for a learning curve, starting a business, and then let alone starting a franchise and helping other people get into business. Mm-hmm. And then in 2021, started another company called Beem Light Sauna, 2 E's, BEEM, and that is a infrared sauna studio concept. So it's like a day spa where you would reserve your spot, go in, you have your private suite with a private infrared sauna. We also have red light therapy. We have emerald light therapy, private showers on site and all that. So a very elevated, really enjoyable experience, and infrared sauna and the benefits of red light therapy separately have just been shown to be amazing. So that market has taken off, and we've awarded 300 licenses in 2 years for that franchise. And we have, I want to say 8 open right now. We're opening 5 this month. And by the end of the year, we should have 55 to 60 open, depending on construction and permitting and all that, all franchise locations. And then I started another company called Stack It Consultants, which is an outbound sales company that helps pre-launch and sell memberships before a studio ever opens, a RockBox or Beem Light Sauna opens. So when a franchisee opens their business, he or she is opening their business with a full cadre of members and cash flow and recurring revenue. And then I started a nutrition company that is nutritional supplements, privately, they're our own label, our own proprietary blends. And those are sold, it's called Leverage Nutrition, and that's sold exclusively through RockBox locations. So it was another way to capture more revenue and allow the franchisees to make more money and ensure the members were getting the highest quality nutritional supplements if they chose to buy supplements. And then a couple other little things, here and there. We're building a digital agency as well. We've actually built it. We've been using it for our own franchisees, and now there's an opportunity to take that to other concepts that don't compete with us. We can help them with their digital marketing as well, because that's the world in which I love and live in, and customer acquisition and lead gen. That's the lifeblood of any recurring revenue model. So yeah, that was kind of a mouthful, but after I left corporate America, I started the first one and then just kept starting new companies. So yeah.
So do you work like 48 hours a day, or?
I work a lot, but I love it. Like, I absolutely love what I do and love what we're building. But I also have an amazing team, and I know every leader says that, but man, I have just. I would say I'd go to war with these people. I really have gone to war with these people, because business is war. And I couldn't come close to achieving what we're achieving without the people that we have and people around me.
That's fantastic. And I want to explore some of your sort of how you built that team and inspired that team. But I want to go back to when you left corporate America, because I wrote this down because I think it's poignant, especially given the fact that you love the marketing and you're the marketing guy. And you said, I left corporate America, launched RockBox without any marketing or pre-launch, and did pitiful sales as a result. So was that hubris? Was that hope? Like what led you back in your 2017 mind to do that?
Stupidity. It's like, I would love to, and I think if an entrepreneur says like, oh, I had it all figured out and I knew exactly how this would play, I don't think they're being truthful with themselves or whoever they're saying that to, because the thing about entrepreneurship is you have to keep your knees bent and be able to react so quickly, especially when, I didn't buy into a franchise. I started a franchise, which means I had to figure out everything on my own. And I had a business partner that I did that with as well, and give him full credit for that. But, I would have to say, and this sounds a little crazy, but I would say that any entrepreneur that starts a business has to have, me included, a touch of narcissism, if not a good dose of it, because what you're saying to the world is, I can do this better than anyone else. Or why would I start a business? Why would I do this if I didn't think I could do it better than anybody else? And so I think there was there was definitely some ego. But I'll tell you, it was mixed with a healthy dose of stupidity too, because I didn't know what I didn't know. And I got, getting into business, getting into brick and mortar, getting into construction, getting into sales and the sales and marketing model. I didn't know what a pre-launch was. So I just opened the studio and thought people would come, did a little flyering or paid people to do flyering. But, now we do these very intricate digital campaigns that are 3 months long and, have proven scripts and a whole email and text drip sequence that we know converts. But I had to learn that with my own money in a very expensive way. But I did it quickly. Like the first 2 months I was open, a very, very quick story. I built the first flagship RockBox, and that, my own money out of my own checking account. And in November, it was the second month we were open. I wasn't home for dinner one night, and my wife came to the, we lived about 3 miles away. She drove up to the studio, and I'm there. It's after everybody's left. I'm there. The light, because it has color changing lighting, and all the lighting's going crazy. The sound system is on full blast, and I am beating the living hell out of one of the boxing heavy bags. And my wife comes in, and also the music turns off. So I turn around, and it's like this 3,000 square foot studio, and she goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm working out in the world's most expensive home gym." Because we don't have any members. And so damn it, I'm going to use this thing. But, I ended up hiring a gym consultant, pretty expensive one, that really helped me understand the gym and fitness marketing model, helped me understand really what a client, what a prospective client is looking for. They don't care about your workout. They don't care about your fancy, the science behind your workout. They care that they get a result. They care about themselves. And so we quickly turned that, and I went from like $5,000 a month in revenue, $8,000 a month in revenue, which was not coming close to covering my cost. And then the third month, like 55,000 and 60,000. So it took about 3 months, but got it dialed in, and have been dialing in ever since. But
how close did you come to running out of runway there?
So great question. I've always lived beneath my means, and and I did fairly well in the pharmaceutical business. It's a pretty high paying industry. And I'm kind of a saver. So I went to war in entrepreneurship with a pretty full war chest. It's still scary, and and you're signing personal guarantees on commercial leases and all these things. And, it's not for the faint of heart, but I knew I was going to succeed. And again, maybe that's narcissism, but I was like, I will not, there's no way I'm going to fail. I just don't know what to do quite yet. And I'm going to pay somebody a whole lot of money to shorten my learning curve to the smallest runway I need to get this plane airborne, because I would always rather pay for that expertise. And one thing I would share with your audience is, paying for expertise is really a smart way to do it. And people talk about it on social media and whatnot, but you don't want to just pay for the expertise. You want to pay for the training. You want to pay for them to actually teach you how to do it. You may choose, I don't want to do this. I want to outsource it. I'm sure there's a lot of marketers that are listening to this, and maybe they have agencies, and they want people to outsource to them. And I still outsource some of my marketing, but I know what's going on behind the curtain. I know how the sausage is made, so to speak, which makes choosing a vendor so much easier. I know what I'm going to get and what I'm not going to get. And so I really focused on learning how to do this and learning how to run digital traffic and learning how to convert versus just paying somebody to do it for me.
Yeah, it's an interesting point because I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, and the e-myth variety, right? Where you start off, you're wearing all the hats until like you hit your growth ceiling, and then you start offloading tasks that you aren't profitable for you to be doing as the founder or CEO. But you sort of flip it on its head, and you're like from the sort of launch nearly, you're like, I don't know how to do everything here, so I'm going to bring in the right expertise to equip me, which it requires more upfront investment, but I have to imagine is a difference maker between struggling for time on end until you're nearly out of money and then needing to rescue a business when it's on the brink. So
yeah. And what you just said is so true. People wait too long before they seek help. They wait too long. I don't know if it's pride or they just, they think they're going to figure it out. But, if you've been at it and it's 60 days, 90 days in to whatever the thing is, even if it's your current business, you're trying a new market, trying to go after a new avatar, whatever, and you haven't gotten it figured out in 60 to 90 days, pay somebody to teach you how to do it and pay somebody to help you acquire those skills, buy the course, go back to school, hire a person that knows how to do it, then have them teach you so that at least you understand it. There's very few jobs in any of my businesses that I can't do. And I will tell you, I don't have a clue how some of the sausage is made because I have hired people in, and you get to a certain level, you do start hiring people for their expertise to build the systems, to build the processes. And I don't understand how all of it goes together at times in some of these different businesses. And that's okay. But my comfort zone, and I would argue and implore the listeners, just make sure that you know that you could learn and you could quickly learn if you had to.
Yeah. And what I think is interesting too, is like, I mean, you come from, you came from a corporate background, you're a smart guy, you had higher education. That doesn't, the skills don't necessarily immediately translate to running a business, being an entrepreneur, like doing everything yourself. And I think that so often entrepreneurs, they think there's some level of failure if they can't figure it out. Like, I've got the MBA, I worked in sales, I worked in marketing. I should be able to do all my sales and marketing and run my finances and hire people and train them because I've done these things in my career. But it's different when it's a startup environment or a growth environment, and you can't effectively be all the things.
100%. And I have my undergraduate in marketing. I went back after I had worked for 6 or 7 years and got my MBA. And I was all about, I started my kids' 529 plans when they were a month old because you have to go to college. And I've really, after becoming an entrepreneur in 2017, I have really flipped my view on higher education 180 degrees to where my daughter went to Chapel Hill, amazing university, got her 4-year degree. My son went to a 1-year music school out in Burbank because he's chasing his dream of being a music producer in Los Angeles, but he knows his mission is clear. And so why would he need to go to a 4-year university? And the reason I'm so not against education, but I guess just am agnostic to it is because I learned more from 2017 to today in those 7-8 years than I had the entire 47 years before that I was on the planet, including, my formal education, including all of the corporate education and leadership programs and coaches and all of the stuff that I had that I'm super grateful for. Like, I really am. Corporate America gets a terrible rap, and people forget they also provide a lot of wages for a lot of people and a lot of training and skill up leveling. And but I'll tell you this last 7-8 years, like, I look back at the person I was as a COO and think, oh my God, I can run circles around that dude today. I can run circles around my old self. And maybe that's just life as you get older and you get wisdom. But there's something about having your own business, having to make payroll, having to make rent, and people's jobs depend on me doing my job well. People's livelihoods, their mortgage, their kids, it depends on me doing my job well. And that's a feeling that I didn't fully appreciate when I worked in corporate America because it's so big and insulated. And then when you realize you've created something from nothing, you've created employment opportunities out of thin air. You've created careers for people from your brain, from what was inside your head, and you've made it a reality. That I didn't have a full appreciation for until I got into this 3 or 4 years. And that's one of the things I'm most proud of.
That's fantastic. And it, I have a tiny team, but every now and then when there's a jobs report and I've just added a new hire, I was like, I have one of those as mine.
Yes.
I'm contributing somehow. But I do want to make sure we don't make this storytelling sound so, the curve has smoothed in the realm of history. Like, I know when we spoke earlier and I asked you, surely you fucked up at some point, besides maybe not marketing before you opened. And you told me a story of what brought you to your knees, and it had to do with doing laundry. You want to share that with our listeners?
Yes. And by the way, I've fucked up 100 different ways, but that's just one of them. So I published a book back in January, and in that book, what I write about, I talk about marketing and sales and finance and operations, and I try to really break it down if you're starting or you're trying to scale your business. But I talk about, it's not strategy that's going to bring you to your knees. It's not this high level thinking of, I'm putting my MBA to work and, I had this super complex problem to solve it. That's not that never brings to your knees. That's invigorating. That's the fun stuff. It's the crazy, stupid little things that will almost put you in your grave because you're already exhausted. As an entrepreneur, you launch a business, you're already exhausted. It's worse than having a newborn baby. It's just because it drags on you so much more. And at least that newborn looks at you and smiles sometimes, the business just takes and takes and takes at first. And so when I launched Beem Light Sauna and I built a brick and mortar, I always build a brick and mortar for any brand that we have because I want to make sure that I know all the pain points and I figure out what those pain points are. And it's hard to do that unless you actually own it with your own money and build it with your own money. And there was one original Beem Light Sauna studio that was smaller, and she's one of my 2 business partners in this venture. And her team does the laundry, meaning the towels, because we provide a complimentary towel service and Cool Mint towel and all that stuff. And she has the lower volume that allows her staff to do the laundry there in the studio. So when I built my studio and, built it all out, I had them, plumb it for a washer, commercial washer and commercial dryer and all that. But I'm in the bottom of it's high rise. And that, just long story short, means that my vent runs are a lot, 100 feet long, and just not optimal for doing massive amounts of laundry. And when we first opened, we were so busy, which is a high class problem, but we were so busy. The machines that I bought, which were commercial grade, could not keep up with the laundry. And so yours truly, who was the CEO of RockBox, I was the CEO of Beem, CEO of 2 other companies. I would come to work and be a CEO, do interviews like this and coach my team and talk about strategy. And then at 8:00 at night, I would drive down to the studio and have to take 6 big carts and load them up into my SUV and take them to a laundromat and do laundry until midnight, and then drive it back to the studio, put it back in the workroom, and then drive home, go to sleep, get up and do it all over again. And the reason I did it, because people are listening and saying, well, why wouldn't you outsource that? One, it happens so fast and so quickly that if you don't have towels, you can't service people because they need towels to dry off after they sauna and whatnot. And I had an entire team in that studio of young women, I think, 25 or younger. And I just didn't feel appropriate asking a young woman to go into a laundromat at midnight. That just didn't seem like a safe thing to ask them to do. And it wasn't a fair thing to ask them to do. So for 2 weeks, until I could figure out, okay, how do I get outsourced laundry? And I ended up hiring a linen company and took all that equipment out. Now they just bring the towels in and bring fresh towels in, and just it swaps out and we don't have to do laundry. But until I could get that figured out and get a contract in place and all that, I had to do that. And about the 4th or 5th night in a row, I remember, it's 17 machines going or whatever, and I'm just watching it spin around and around, and I'm staring off into space, and I just thought, I don't want to do this. Like, what in the hell am I doing? I've gone backwards in life so far. It's not even funny. I'm doing frickin' laundry at midnight and I'm supposed to be a CEO. Like, what am I doing? And I mean, it literally brought me to my knees of like, this is just not worth it. This is absolutely not worth it. Okay. I've hit some doubles and triples, but I've whiffed on this business venture. Like, this was dumb. And it wasn't, because, I got it figured out in 2 weeks, but your brain is so tired. You're so exhausted from launching, from doing the pre-launch, from trying to figure everything out, to get the store set up, to make sure the saunas are assembled, to make sure, like, just, that's a lot of brain power. And I'm running 4 companies during the day. And by the time I get there at night, I was so physically exhausted that I just thought, screw this. Like, I'm not doing it. Like, we're just going to close this store. Like, failure, not, which would have been terrible. I mean, because it's a great store, it makes a lot of money now, and it's kind of our flagship store. But it's the little things that will they'll crush your soul. And an entrepreneur just needs to stick with it and not quit. That's the key, is never, 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 ever give up. But it's easier said than done.
Yeah. I mean, it's the literal towel you did not throw in.
Yeah, exactly. I had 6 carts to throw in. I did. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot of laundry. And I mean, I think, it's like this idea that, if the leader isn't going to step up to the plate, then you could never then, after that point, ask the staff to do that. But demonstrating that, no, like, there's shit work, and I'm CEO, and I'm still gonna, because that's what it takes. And I think there's such power in, you said earlier, like, knowing all the roles, knowing how to do all the roles, including getting the laundry done. That's it's like, it gets humbling, but it's also, I think, very powerful from a leadership perspective. And you have this book, and I will admit I have not read it cover to cover, but I have read bits and pieces of it. And you told me, you're like, I'm not, I didn't write it as the big 6 consulting guy, with my consulting speak, because entrepreneurs are too damn tired to read stuff like that. I love your short, to the point chapters, especially you have one called "Everyone is in Sales." And I was like, oh, I give a talk, and it's like, I always ask, like, who here is in marketing? 2 people will raise their hand. And I was like, no, you're all in marketing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I love it. And I love that your book, you're using it as a, to raise funds for a charity. You want to tell us a little bit about what your thinking was on that?
Yeah. So the book is called An Insider's Guide to Business: Secrets from an Entrepreneur's Playbook. Go on Amazon and buy the hard copy or the Kindle version. And I decided when I published this book that for always and ever, all the proceeds will go to a charity called To Write Love in Her Arms. To Write Love in Her Arms is a charity that's focused on preventing self-harm and also preventing suicide. It's our national charity partner for RockBox. We found so many members would not only lose weight and feel great and have more confidence, but if they were struggling with mental health and struggling with some very, horrific thoughts, it really helped them through that because of the group atmosphere, the community. And so we just knew when we created a charity partner, or we're not created, but when we found our charity partner, it had to be something that made sense for our brand, for RockBox. Like, there's Meals on Wheels, right? But we don't have any meals and we don't have any wheels. So like, that shouldn't be our charity partner. Where To Write Love in Her Arms was just perfect, because it helps people who are struggling with mental health, which is so rampant in our society today. And I just want, the profits, the proceeds, anything, every dime from this book to go, whatever Amazon doesn't take, it all goes to Write Love in Her Arms. And I will just say, I appreciate that you have an appreciation for how the book is written. Writing the book only took me a little over 30 days, but then for 4 months, I did 7 cover to cover edits to make this as simple and concise as possible, because I've read hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of business books, and like Good to Great, yes, it's a wonderful book, but oh my God, it's laborious getting through that. It's just, and there's so many others that are written in that way that are written by academians, and they use $10 words, and they're citing a bunch of research and all these citations. I thought, if an entrepreneur wants to pick up a book and figure out, okay, how do I get better at operations? What are 2 or 3 things I could do that are kind of ubiquitous across any kind of industry. It doesn't matter what you do. What would those three things be? If I'm not a finance person, but I want to make sure I'm paying attention to finance, what are the 4 key things I need to pay attention to in finance? And then just break that down. So the edits, 7 full cover-to-cover edits, were to make the book much easier to read. And so I went from my first pass, I ran it because I used no technology for this. I actually wrote the book, but I ran it through an app just to see what the readability was. And the first version was collegiate level, as it probably should be, because I'm college educated. That's the way I write. But I continued to simplify to get this down to like an 7th or 8th grade reading level, so that not that you have, the really smart people, I think, can still get a ton out of it. It's just that it's going to read so much easier and flow versus, you read 2 pages and you have to go back and reread them because what did I just read?
Right.
Yeah. So
what was the takeaway? Well, so you actually have it's probably the opposite of a disclaimer. You say it like no chat GPT or AI was used to write this. I've not seen that in a book before. I mean, maybe it's popping up in academic works, but I was like, yeah, I guess we're going to have to start making that claim.
Well, it's, I know there's a lot of books now being written by ChatGPT, and there's a lot of books being written by ghost authors. You used to have to put, if you had a ghost author, you'd say An Insider's Guide to Business by Roger Martin and, somebody else's name. No, she wrote it, right? Now, for whatever reason, you don't have to do that. And so, there's a lot of books that are ghost written, which is fine. I mean, I get, it doesn't matter however the information gets out, but I pecked out 46,000 words on my laptop, and damn it, I was going to get credit for that. And so I wanted to put in there, no technology.
Yeah. Well, I love that. Couple things here. One, that as a brand, you decided from early on that to build a national charity partner. I think that it's such an important role that private enterprise can play in creating a better society. I mean, you talked about the benefit of corporate America, wages, education. Those are all true, but I think, any private enterprise has a real role and responsibility to lift up community. And you're doing that through this, which I think is fantastic. And I applaud you. So, Roger, what is success to you now and going forward?
That is a really good question. I don't know if I've ever been asked that question in that way. And it's very simple, but just a powerful question. So, of course, it's changed over the years. Again, I shared when we started this interview, I moved my family 8 times in 14 years. It was always about the next thing. It was, I get a VP of sales role. Okay, that's great. Then how do I become a senior VP, or how do I become the president? Okay, I got a president role. How do I become a chief operating officer? It was always the next thing. And I would not really enjoy the journey. And one thing that the gray hair I have now and the wisdom that caused me to have all this gray hair is you realize the journey is the joy, that the joy is in the journey. It's not in the achievement, because when you achieve whatever you're going for, yes, it feels amazing. And, sometimes it can be very financially rewarding, but that dopamine hit lasts for about 10 minutes and then it's gone. Where the actual walk up the mountain, the climb, the treacherous weather that you have to get through, almost falling off the mountain, all that, that's the stuff you remember. You don't remember, when we accomplished this and I cashed that check. Yeah, but the stories you tell are doing laundry and the dumb shit and all that, that's what builds your character. And I it's not I love this saying. I certainly stole it from somebody, but adversity doesn't build character, it reveals it. And I've just found that the more adversity I've faced throughout my life, the better I've gotten at embracing it and saying, okay, I've been through this. I've been through something like this, or maybe not this, but something hard before, a lot of hard things. I've always gone through it. Let's go back to the process. What do I need to do? Let me self-diagnose. What did I do wrong? Let me figure out what the root cause analysis is. And then what is this going to cost to fix, or how much time is it going to take? And you just start to approach problems in a more systematic approach, not a robotic approach, but just a more systematic approach, knowing, I've been through some really hard things before and I got through them, and we've been successful. This sucks right now. This sucks on every level. I wouldn't wish this on anybody, but it's happening. So I got to figure it out,
Do you have any fear? Like, does fear ever come into your psyche as you are making business decisions, or is that
100%.
Okay?
100%. Yeah. I mean, people, again, if you don't have any fear, and I tell people when they are awarded a franchise license, when they buy a franchise license, they'll say, I can't lie to you, I'm a little bit freaked out. I'm like, you should be. This is a big decision. Like, if you weren't scared, I think you have something wrong in your head, man. Like, this is a big decision. But the way I was in corporate America for 25 years, and so I would take risks, but they were managed risks. Entrepreneurship is a whole another level, especially, when you're investing hundreds and hundreds or millions of dollars. Hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, it's just a different level of risk. But you start to manage that fear and know that, yeah, this is going to be scary. But again, I've been to this movie before. I know how this ends. And it usually ends in success and, and some celebration. And we've done some great things and built something that never existed before. But I do remember this. I was scared to death before. And when we started that company, and yep, I'm a little freaked out now because I just signed another $2 million personal guarantee. And yep, that'll keep you up at night. But you have to go in parallel paths. So I've got to accomplish what I've set out and what I was put on this planet to do. And at times it's going to be scary, and I'll stare at the ceiling at night and think, wow, I've got a lot of personal guarantees. Wow, I'm not like super leveraged, but it's just if something goes sideways, I got to pay the bill at the end of the day. So, yeah.
Well, you teed this up for me. I always like to end our conversations on the M word. Not always, but of late. Yeah. Are you a Barbie or a Ken guy?
So I didn't see the most recent movie, and I would have to say Ken. So I haven't seen that movie, so if it's related to the movie, I can't comment. But just like philosophically, I guess a Ken guy, because as a boy, I affiliated with a Ken doll more, but I dig the Barbie energy and the Barbie she's the woman in charge. So I do dig that. I've got a 23-year-old daughter who's just tearing it up at her first job now and loving it. And so I love that strong feminine energy as well. So that was a safe answer, but it's my real answer.
No, it was your authentic answer. So that's what we're all about. So Roger, if folks want to learn more about RockBox or the infrared sauna spa experience, where can they find you and those brands?
Yeah. So for RockBox Fitness or Beam Light Sauna, they can go to Thrive. Well, they can go to those websites, rockboxfitness.com or beamlightsauna.com, or they can go to thrivemorebrands.com. And Thrivemore is just it's really an umbrella company we have with these other companies underneath it. So they can go there and they can find out about all that stuff. I have just like you, I have a podcast that is more general business in nature and even health and wealth. And that there's a link on there. And I think the book is on there as well. And then if they want to connect with me on the socials, my handle, I believe on every social is Real Roger Martin, ROGER. I'm pretty sure that's what it's on LinkedIn as well. So,
we'll put the links to those too, and the websites on the show notes and in the blog. So to make that easy to find you. And I love it all, Roger. I look forward to finishing the book, and wish you all the best. And I look forward to seeing what new business you spin up next year.
Me too. I'm looking forward to it too. I have no idea what it'll be, but it'll be something. Yeah.
That's awesome. Right. All right.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for listening to The M Word. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Subscribe and never miss a podcast. Visit arlingtonstrategy.com for more. The M Word is an Arlington Strategy production hosted by Jennifer Mulchandana. Our theme music is by Moochie. Graphic design by Kayla Fagan and Emily Rare. Sound engineering and editing by Winston Turner.